Greetings from Tamriel. My name is Andrew Jorgensen, aka Dova-Kiing, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the very first episode of my Dawnguard Companions audio drama titled Dawn of the Garmír. Now, before we dive in, I would like to make one thing clear. This audio drama is a fan-driven project created purely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is my way of celebrating Bethesda's incredible storytelling and immersing myself in the world of Skyrim. I do not claim ownership over any copyrighted material owned by Bethesda or its subsidiaries, and I fully credit them for inspiring this thrilling journey. Now that we got that out of the way, let's set the stage. This is an original adventure set in the world of Skyrim, taking place after the Dragonborn has completed both the Dawnguard and Companions questlines. Familiar faces will return, joined by new and original characters unique to this tale. Before we begin, let's take a moment to revisit the two factions at the heart of this battle, the Dawnguard and the Companions, and the events that have led us to this moment. The Dawnguard. The Dawnguard is a faction of relentless vampire hunters sworn to defend Skyrim from the darkness that lurks in the shadows. Reformed by Ysgramor, a hardened warrior with an unshakable resolve, the Dawnguard stood against Lord Harkon, a vampire lord who sought to blot out the sun using the legendary Ariel's bow. Through the intervention of the Dragonborn, Harkon was vanquished, his forces scattered, and the Dawnguard emerged victorious. Their strength has only grown in the years since, standing ever vigilant against the undead threat. Among their ranks are Seren Gerard, a brilliant engineer and tactician whose advancements in crossbow technology have totally revolutionized the Dawnguard arsenal, and Garmir, a formidable Nord warrior and beastmaster whose skill in training creatures to fight alongside him in battle, and Serana, Harkon's own daughter, who defied her father's will and helped the Dawnguard thwart his dark prophecy. The Companions. In the city of Whiterun, nestled within the ancient mead hall of Jorvaskr, the Companions have long stood as Skyrim's greatest warriors. They are noble, bound by brotherhood and honor, and serve as mercenaries, protectors, and champions of the people. But within their ranks lies a secret, a gift, or a curse, depending on whom you ask. The inner circle of the Companions bears the blood of the wolf, a blessing of Hircine that grants them the ability to transform into powerful werewolves. The Dragonborn, having risen through their ranks, ultimately became Harbinger, leader of their guild, after freeing Kodlak Whitemane Spirit to Sovngarde. And the Companions were given the option to either cure or embrace their werewolf forms. With these victories behind them, the Dragonborn has united Skyrim's greatest warriors and ensured a fragile peace, but darkness lingers in the corners of Tamriel, waiting for the moment to strike. Now, a new threat has emerged, one that neither the Dawnguard nor the Companions can fight alone. Two ancient enemies, once thought vanquished, have returned. Together they seek to unleash a monstrous creation unlike anything Skyrim has ever seen, a hybrid born from the raw ferocity of a werewolf and the unholy power of vampiric blood magic. To stop this unholy union, the Dawnguard and Companions must forge an alliance, one that has never existed before. They must set aside their differences, stand as one, and fight against an enemy that threatens to consume them all. But will it be enough, or will Skyrim fall into an age of darkness once more? The Awakening, Duskbane Barrow. The sound of rapid footsteps echoed through the ancient halls. 8 shadowy figures tore through corridor after corridor, cutting down any draugr that dared to rise from their graves. Then they stopped. Before them stood an ancient stone door. The floor was littered with bones and shattered weapons, the aftermath of a battle long forgotten. One hooded figure stepped forward, eyes narrowing as they examined a note nailed to the door's surface. Faded ink across brittle parchment read, "Here lies the last son of Ysgramor, Ysygorn. Beware all those who disturb these ancient halls. It took years of sacrifice and bloodshed to seal away this evil monstrosity, including the blood of Ysgramor's elder sons, Yingol and Yigar. If this being is released, the legacy of Ysgramor himself will be destroyed, and all the unworthy will fall by his hand. Traveler, you have been warned. Be gone!" The figure drew back his hood, revealing a handsome man with sleek black hair and chiseled features, untarnished by centuries of immortality. But his eyes revealed his true nature, golden yellow, and alight with savage triumph. He extended a clawed forefinger and muttered an ancient spell. His fingertip glowed a blood red, and without a word, he began tracing blood glyphs on the door's stone surface. His nail cut into the stone surface as if it were old wood. Once the final glyph was carved, the stone door began to glow blood red, the ancient seal weakening. "Cast by blood," the figure said, his fingernail shrinking back to normal. "By blood undone." There was a long screech as the ancient stone door groaned to life and slid down to reveal an ancient sarcophagus inlaid with Nordic runes. "The tomb of Ysgorn is found at last. Soon his awakening shall begin, and our brilliant proposal shall shake Skyrim to its core." Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the Barrow, a small group of warriors made their way towards the ancient Nord site. At the front of the group was Ysgramor, his eyes scanning the scene, sensing their quarry was just right inside. "This is it, men," Ysgramor said, addressing his comrades. "If our sources are correct, the remnant of Castle Volkir's kindred are hiding inside. Now is our chance to destroy the last of Harkon's brood once and for all." One of the warriors leaned closer to Ysgramor and said, "I don't like this, Ysgramor. Something tells me that this place was never meant to be found, like something was imprisoned here that should never get out." Ysgramor considered him for a moment. He and Garmir go way back, and even though they had their disagreements in the past, he'd grown to respect and trust Garmir's judgment, even when it came to their work. "I trust you, Garmir," Ysgramor replied gruffly. "So tell me, what is it we're about to run into?" Garmir paused for a moment, recalling the research they did before setting out from Fort Dawnguard 2 nights ago. They had pored over dozens of maps and checked multiple eyewitness accounts, trying to determine where any remaining vampires loyal to Harkon may be hiding. They finally received a tip from a reliable source that a group of vampires bearing what seemed to be the crest of Clan Volkir were lurking in the remnants of what seemed to be a Nordic ruin near to Mount Anthor, but it didn't appear on any current maps of Skyrim's landscape, so they decided to dig through the Nord history books to see if there was a Nordic settlement in that area. Then they finally discovered a tattered text of a Nordic ruin named Duskbane Barrow, which seemed to match the description of the location they were informed about. But Garmir had discovered a hidden text across the page they had found. It wasn't visible at first until the light of the moon shone through one of Fort Dawnguard's upper windows. It said, "Beware Duskbane Barrow, where Ysgorn himself was sealed away." After a minute, Garmir replied, "I don't know what we're facing, Ysgramor, but I do know who." Ysgramor considered him for a second. "Who is it, Garmir?" Garmir took a deep breath and spoke the name of who would soon become Skyrim's greatest threat, Ysgorn. As he spoke, the sound of howling wolves echoed across the vast landscape. Snapping back into action, Ysgramor motioned to Garmir and their third comrade, Durak, to move forward. They ventured through the tomb, seeing the twisted, strewn remnants of the Draugr warriors as they did so. Then, once they got to one of the stairwells leading further below, they heard someone close by. All 3 Dawnguard members froze in their tracks as they recognized the cold, cruel voice of a vampire they had believed they had vanquished. Harkon. Rise, Ysgorn, last son of Ysgramor. Take your place once more among the living. A deep boom shakes the chamber. Ice fractures across the ceiling. Ysgramor pushed his friends back just as a stalagmite pierced the floor where they had been standing a moment before. Then, as they moved closer, they heard a new voice, one that chilled them worse than Harkon. It was hoarse, but still carried a power untouched by centuries. The air tastes stale. The world has changed, but the weak still rule. The lid of the sarcophagus suddenly explodes outward, a shockwave sending vampires reeling back as Ysgorn steps forward, his armor gleaming, his presence radiating power. His eyes scanned the vampires surrounding him until finally his cold eyes fell on Harkon. His smile sent a shiver down the spine of his vampire kin, but Harkon wasn't fazed. I never thought I'd see the day when a vampire lord would come crawling to me for help, Ysgorn said. So tell me, Harkon, did you fulfill your prophecy as you envisioned? Harkon bristled at admitting defeat, but he knew better than to sweep under the rug. The Dragonborn and Dawnguard invaded Castle Volkir. They turned my own daughter against me and slaughtered many of our kin. We few survive. For now. Ysgorn laughed, a cold, mirthless laugh that echoed through the cave. So you failed then, miserably. Harkon snarled, his fangs were bared. Careful, Ysgorn. I may be in need of your help, but do not mistake my civility for submission. I would expect nothing less, Vampire Lord. So tell me, Harkon, why have you decided to release me? Ysgorn was curious to hear his reasoning. He never believed he would ever be freed from his prison, let alone by a vampire lord. Because, as you know, our abilities are formidable on their own, yes. But what if we engineer a hybrid wielding both vampire magic and Hircine's wolf blood? First time in his life, Ysgorn was impressed against his will. Our proposal has merit, Harkon. I'm impressed. So shall we get to work? We end this before it begins! At his word, Garmir and Durak emerged from the corridor, their weapons drawn, ready for the fight. At the sight of the Dawn Guard, Harkon and his vampires bared their fangs. Magical energy flared from their palms. Dawn Guard, Harkon snarled. You're too late. Ysgorn is free, and together we shall be unstoppable. Ysgorn surveyed the three warriors, remembering the heroic action of their faction from his time. It's a shame they never tried to stop him during his reign of terror. So, Dawn Guard, let's see if you are as formidable as I recall. Total chaos erupted as the Dawn Guard launched their attack. Garmir and Ysgramor charged Ysgorn, their weapons flashing. But Ysgorn moved with unnatural speed. He knocked Garmir aside and grabbed Ysgramor by his throat. Gasping for air, Ysgramor stared into Ysgorn's cold eyes. Then, using his innate reflexes, drew his silver steel dagger from his belt and slashed Ysgorn across his face. Ysgorn recoiled, howling in pain, his free hand forcing his hand from Ysgramor's throat. Gasping on the cold stone floor, he grabbed his warhammer and held it in a defensive position. To his delight, he ensured he left a lasting impression on Ysgorn for the rest of his days, even if he were to fall and go to Sovngarde this day. Ysgorn turned to face Ysgramor, a note of pride and respect in his eyes. Even though his methods were extreme, Ysgorn was a true companion. He stood by the values and code his father Ysgramor had upheld as the leader of the companions. You have fought well, leader of the Dawn Guard. You are a man of honor. and an honorable death I shall give you." He drew his sword with unnatural speed and in one stroke struck Ysgramor across the chest. His warhammer clattered to the ground, the golden glow slowly dissipating. There was a moment of still silence, but then Durek's voice broke through the din. "Ysgramor!" Garmir let out a roar of fury and charged Ysygorn, but Harkon was too quick for him. A blast of dark energy struck Garmir in the chest, briefly illuminating him in a purple light. All Durek could do was watch as Garmir's form crumbled into dust, his axe clattering to the floor. "No, Garmir!" Durek screamed. With the battle all but lost, Durek, wounded and weary, grabbed Ysgramor's hammer and Garmir's axe and fled into the darkness, running only with the speed magic could allow. "The Dawn Guard has grown weak in my absence. I honestly expected more. No, Ysgorn, not weak, just unprepared for what's coming next." With Ysgramor dead and the Dawn Guard in retreat, darkness rises once more over Skyrim. The companions remain unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon, and Ysgorn, the last son of Ysgramor, walks the world again. The battle for Skyrim has begun. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this prologue and wish to see more content, please slash that like button and subscribe as a follower of the Dova-Kiing. And until next time, Foos Roda!